Tonight, Madonna showcases her latest directorial effort, W.E. It is a film which interweaves two separate stories, one detailing the romance between Prince Edward and Wallis Simpson, and another which follows Wally Winthrop, a young woman living in 90s New York, stuck in an unhappy marriage and obsessed with Mrs. Simpson. Hi, Madonna. What inspired you to write, direct and produce a film about Wallis and Edward's love affair?
Well, I decided to write the script because I felt like the quintessential story about the Duchess hadn't been written. And if I bought somebody else's book, then I'd have to deal with all the nonsense of staying true to what they'd written. So happy to write it myself. And then I wanted to direct it because I wanted to tell the story of Wallis Simpson and her relationship with Edward VIII. And I ended up producing it because I couldn't find a producer in time for when I wanted to shoot it, so that I could be home in time for my daughter to go to school. So it's a long story.
London crowd stands stunned at the almost unbelievable news. King and Emperor prepares to publicly renounce his throne for the woman he loved.
Was there an added pressure playing such a prominent British figure?
I always feel that the main job of an actor is to try and serve the director. So it was great because the vision was very, very clear. And this story is so complex, and you could tell it so many different ways that you very much needed someone who said, no, we're going to go in this direction. This is the way I want to steer the ship. So that was very heartening.
How did you prepare for the role?
You know, the same way you do, you sort of research when you're playing a real person, you try and find out as much about their life and everything, but Madonna was so knowledgeable about everything, and she was able to tell you much more than I was able to find out. So it was nice to have her there, and she was really into every character, knew everything about them, so she was a big help, actually.
How does it feel to be here tonight at the London Film Festival?
This is my first premiere.
Oh, wow,
I know, and to have it at the London Film Festival is unbelievable, so I'm a little bit nervous. But I think we're going to just
definitely look the part. Lovely dress.
Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you for talking to us. What do you think it is about their story that's captured people's hearts?
It's really Madonna's film. I mean, this is a film that she created and thought through, and it was something that she became very interested in. And she particularly became interested in, rather than what the king gave up for the woman he loved, what the woman he loved gave up to be with him. So I guess that's what the film is. It's a dual story, it's a love story. I mean, hopefully people will fall in love with it in the same way that we have.
Welcome to Daybreak. How are you?
I'm freezing now.
It is really cold, actually.
Yeah.
You look lovely, although you have to wrap up
nice
the fur
dress.
coat.
Yes.
The dress is there. It is a lovely dress.
Thank you.
So, what does it feel like to be Madonna the director in London for the first time? Is it weird?
Yeah, it's slightly strange, but I'm proud of my film and I'm excited to be here. So, yeah.
You're back to the music next year very quickly as well, aren't you? You've got the album coming out, so is it good to be able to balance a bit of directing, a bit of this?
I'm happy to be making music again, yeah. Fun, it's a bit of fun.
Excellent. Well, I've got to get home because the X Factor's on, so...
Oh, shoot. Run on right now. Well, I think it's a complex story, and I don't think there's no black and white, there's no real clear-cut villains, good guys or bad guys. It was important for me to portray everyone in the film as a human being, and that to show their flaws and their imperfections and their good sides, so that you see that they are all human beings, and that we're all human beings, and we make mistakes, and hopefully everyone will see Wallis Simpson as a human being.
The crisis comes that startles the world. London crowd stands stunned at the almost unbelievable news.
What are you thinking about?
King and Emperor prepares to publicly renounce his throne for the woman he loved.
What it must feel like to be loved that much.
Yeah, with 43 different locations, 82 costume changes for the Duchess, and every actor speaking with a different accent than the accent they have. And 2 different time periods. It was a real challenge, absolutely.
It's kind of interesting because everybody thinks they know Edward and Mrs. Simpson, but there are so many books written about them that in fact, whatever your viewpoint of them was, I could give you some evidence to support that. So after that, it's a bit of a blank canvas, because they were either dreadful people or they were madly in love with each other, and there is evidence in both directions. So this is really Madonna's view of what it was.
Obviously, because you're at the helm, do you think the film's going to get extra scrutiny?
Yes, I do. I'm prepared.
Okay, thank you.
David, let's stop all this talk about marriage. It frightens me and I can't see any good coming of it.
Why?
Your family will never stand for it. The Prime Minister won't stand for it.
Then I'll give up the throne.
And I will be the most despised woman in the world.
Why do you belittle yourself? They would be lucky to have you as their queen.
You're delusional. If I had any sense at all, I would just disappear.
Don't you understand? You can do whatever you like, go wherever you want. But whatever you do, I'll follow you.
Madonna hits the red carpet in London's Leicester Square for the premiere of her directorial venture, WE. It's the tale of two love stories. One, the controversial affair between King Edward VIII and American Wallis Simpson in the 1930s. The other, a modern-day story about a married woman who's in love with a Russian security guard.
The crowd stands stunned at the almost unbelievable news.
What are you thinking about?
King and Emperor prepares to publicly renounce his throne for the woman he loves.
What it must feel like to be loved that much.
Well, I decided to write this script because I felt like the quintessential story about the Duchess hadn't been written. And if I bought somebody else's book, then I'd have to deal with all the nonsense of staying true to what they'd written. So, happy to write it myself. And then I wanted to direct it because I wanted to tell the story of Wallis Simpson and her relationship with Edward VIII. And I ended up producing it because I couldn't find a producer in time for when I wanted to shoot it, so that I could be home in time for my daughter to go to school. So it's a long story.
The film has already been aired in Cannes and Venice, but Madonna said it was more nerve-wracking bringing it to London.
It's about an English king. It's primarily filmed in England. It's an English production. Most of my actors are English, and well, I know the Brits are tough critics, but I hope they like it. Yeah.
And her fellow actors were full of praise for the direction she gave.
Very detailed, and actually, oddly, I mean, I wasn't expecting it in my sort of, when you come from a different background, she was very, very detailed notes and very, very good notes as an actor, I noticed from her. So it was a pleasure.
Extraordinary, because she was ultimately prepared and she was passionate about the piece, and that was what excited me when I first met her.
As an actor, what you desperately want is for the director to be clear about what they want, and particularly with a story like this, which could be told so many different ways. So, great. She was terrific.
The film is out in the UK in January.
David, let's stop all this talk about marriage. It frightens me and I can't see any good coming of it.
Why?
Your family will never stand for it. The Prime Minister won't stand for it.
Then I'll give up the throne.
And I will be the most despised woman in the world.
It's about an English king. It's primarily filmed in England. It's an English production. Most of my actors are English. And well, I know the Brits are tough critics, but I hope they like it. Yeah.
When I met her, I suspected that she was going to be hugely passionate about something, or she wouldn't have put so much time and effort into it, and she was. And it was so meticulously researched, and the story was really quite beautiful and very unique in that it existed in two time periods, and that they merged in the abstract.
I love writing. Directing, I also love. The whole process has been extremely, inspiring, exhausting. I've never worked so hard in my life.
The crisis comes that startles the world. London crowd stands stunned at the almost unbelievable news.
What are you thinking about?
King and Emperor prepares to publicly renounce his throne for the woman he loves.
What it must feel like to be loved that much.
Thank you so much for talking to Sky News. What was it about the story of Wallis Simpson that you loved so much?
Well, I just think it's really fascinating to try to understand what the nature of their romance was, and try to understand why a man in such a powerful position would give up the throne for the woman he loves. It's just not done, is it?
Well, you're both females in the public glare. I mean, you must be able to understand just what she went through a little bit.
Well, I do know what it's like to be misunderstood on a global scale, but you know, she lived in a time when women didn't have as many opportunities as we do now. So and she didn't have the chance to defend herself. So I'm taking that opportunity to do that for her.
Well, you're at the very top of your game musically. Does it really get to you, that fact that when you try something new, that you're always going to come up against criticism?
But even when I try something old and when I make my music, I come up against criticism. So it's kind of goes with the territory.
And
I'm used to it.
Really? I just wondered how you coped with that.
I don't read anything.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
And well, for you, I mean, are you going to go back into acting at all? What's next for you?
I'm making a new record.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Can you give us any glimmer into that, or is it all top secret still?
Top secret.